Do we have to go on Jeff's channel again to be able to see comments?
To see the comments. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
What's up? Let's see if we have any peeps.
We have to go on Jeff's.
Oh, lower my volume. No one's here yet.
Oh, we're on now. Well, hello. Hi.
Hey, dude. Hey, nobody.
Hello, everybody.
We're all by ourselves like fucking Celine Dion.
It's like a sausage party.
I just realized on these, I never put these in order of these top vocalists.
Well, here's the thing I was going to say, too. Brandon's not here tonight, which I'm going to miss him. And I'm going to say this. We're probably not going to be on our best behavior tonight because I feel like Brandon keeps us.
He brings out the best in us.
He does.
Brandon, we miss you. We miss you, Brandon.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I kind of feel like when Brandon's here, I have to try to be a little more civil.
Yeah.
Because, he's kind of big. He's big time.
But I kind of miss. Yeah, I kind of miss just totally going off and, getting ridiculous. And
well, that's going to happen tonight. Craig's on. He says it's 4 of his favorite people in the VC. Hey, Craig, what's happening, bro?
Craig
just got a big box of records from Mr. Jeff Witcher.
First guy here, man. Hey, check out. You were just talking about Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. Check out my beer there.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
Iron Maiden beer.
Yeah.
That's metal as hell.
If I was drinking, I'd be drinking.
It's a Brewdog. What's it? Hellcat is what they call this one. Trooper beer, whatever. They've got a few different beer.
What was your favorite song of Seventh Son of the Seventh Son?
I like. Hold on, let me grab the CD here because I want to go through all of them.
Child.
Yeah, oh my God, I love Moonchild.
I mean, only the good die young. Freaking Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Even Can I Play with Madness is so damn catchy.
Can I Play with Madness?
Yeah, Can I Play with Madness is great. I like I like Moonchild. I mean, the first track I think is really cool. I like the second one. I can't think of all the names because I just listen to them. I'm not like paying attention to like the track names, but Can I Play with Madness is great. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I like that one too.
Then Infinite Dreams.
His voice reminds me of Rob Halford. Yes. Am I wrong in saying that?
Bruce Dickinson.
Operatic style.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an operatic style. I think that album, the next 2 albums, Fear of the Dark and
Craig
No Purpose Dying, he gets a little bit of gravel in his voice. But he's got that operatic style. But I love that album, Seventh Son.
So, and it's got like some synthesizers as well, on it, which, of course I like.
They had those guitar synthesizer things, right? Them and Priest were both doing that right around that time period.
I remember when Seventh Son came out, though. I liked it, but a lot of my friends were like, oh, Maiden sucks. They've gone soft. And everybody was complaining about the guitar synths and all that bullshit. And I'm like, this album is killer. And now, even listening to it, it's still killer today. I mean, it's like track after track is so good.
Yeah, a lot of people jump ship. Craig wants to know what our favorite Maiden record is. Mine is either 1 or 2. So it's either the first one or Killers. I mean, I could go either way, Craig. I love them equally. But those would be my 2 favorites. What about you guys?
My favorite is Somewhere in Time.
Well, that's a great one. Jeff?
Yeah.
My favorite is Peace of Mind.
Oh, that's a great one.
I've always said Peace of Mind is my favorite, but I mean, Seventh Son and Killers, all those are just so close.
Thank you for not saying Number of the Beast.
Well, I do love Number of the Beast.
I love it. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah, thank you. But most people are like, I like Number of the Beast. That's my favorite. I mean, I can see why they say that, but
and at one time, I might have said that, but I mean,
there was a time that was my favorite, no doubt, and it definitely ranks high. I think that as a child, I loved Dickinson so much that I knew the first two albums. I listened to the first two albums, but I glazed over them. So as an adult, it's like, oh, like, you know, and I knew all the songs, but it's just like, I love those first two records.
You know what detracts for me? I'm just looking at the track list here of Number of the Beast. It's an amazing album. I think what detracts for me is that like the first song Invaders is all right. And I think the other song that's kind of is Gangland.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I mean, you can't deny Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, 22 Acacia Avenue, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name. I mean, there's great songs in there.
Yeah.
The Evil That Men Do, that's the one I really liked.
Evil That Men Do, so good.
Yeah,
up until Seven
goes
Son,
on and on.
To me, every album up to Seven Son is perfect. Like, I wouldn't change anything on them. You know what I mean? Like, you're right. Those two songs are the weakest songs in that album, but I still dig them.
Well, and I will say this, Josh, on Peace of Mind, take off Quest for Fire. In a time when dinosaurs walk the earth.
Yes, that's I've always said that. That is the only weak point in that album. That I can't take that beginning part.
Yeah.
But I
just says that.
One of my favorite Maiden songs is on Peace of Mind. The last song, To Tame a Land.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Light of Icarus, that kicks ass.
Hey, Mike. Mike's got the Spins is joining us.
Mike is in the house.
So I want to ask
you guys. He's got
Racer
X for a cat.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys before we go live here. There's been some videos going around about Priest.
We're already live.
And I mean, not before we go live, before we start talking about our picks.
I just didn't want you to say something bad.
Exactly.
Because knowing me. Anyway, there's been some videos going around about Judas Priest. Because they got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's been kind of some videos going on around about how Priest is sort of like not up to par with a lot of the metal bands. People have said that their riffs are very simple. That Rob Halford is hard to understand when he's singing. Now, here's I don't agree with any of that.
Who are these people?
Well, I'm not going to mention any names, but Priest is one of my favorite metal bands, and I think they were a very influential metal band. I just didn't know I know you guys all like Priest, but I don't know if you want to share any thoughts about Judas Priest. Do you have any negatives about Priest?
Yeah, their cover of Johnny Be Good was totally ridiculous.
The thing is that I do realize Priest is not for everybody, right? It's like going into it, you know that there is the operatic vocals and things like that. There's going to be some people that are turned off by it. I'm not turned off by it. I love it, but I love heavy metal, right? But that being said, I don't have any negatives. You know, like if Michelle went downstairs with me tonight and said, like, go put on a record, I probably wouldn't grab Judas Priest just because I know what she likes. But if you guys were all over, hell yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so I think they're an acquired taste, but an acquired taste doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing.
And they were, I think they were just so influential, even with the look. Like, I know Rob Halford went to S&M shops to get his, leather gear or whatever, but that ended up being the look of metal. Like Priest, Sabbath, I think Sabbath, it's safe to say they definitely invented metal. I mean, there was bubblings of it before Sabbath, but I think Sabbath really did. I think Priest took it to the next level. They almost like created the look of metal.
Yeah. Well, Chris, they were hell bent for leather.
Exactly.
They were. And what was that album? What was the alternate title of that album?
Killing Machine.
Killing Machine.
Which is a cooler title, I think.
Yes, that's one I have. It says Killing Machine.
Hey, Anthony. Hey, John, the Dark Wizard Room. How's it going, guys?
Why don't I have a cool name like that?
Yeah, I just want to back up a little bit because Mike already threw out there one of the greatest vocalists of the 70s, Brad Delp from Boston.
Oh, hell yeah.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Brad Delp's got an amazing. Well, I mean, unfortunately, he passed away. I forget how many years ago, but yeah, Brad Delp. I mean, if Boston had been more prolific, I think Brad Delp would be a little more in the conversation. But yeah, I love his vocals.
Oh yeah. How can you not? I mean, it's just magic.
Yeah, as far as Judas Priest goes, just to kind of weigh in, I like their earlier stuff more than kind of, I mean, I know I'm not alone, but kind of like the 80s stuff is where it kind of loses me a little bit. I like, Sad Wings of Destiny. I like Stained Class. Like you said, Killing Machine or whatever you want to call that record, Point of Entry. I like, that earlier stuff where they've got somewhat of a bluesy kind of sound to it. But I mean, maybe I just haven't heard enough of their later records.
If somebody wanted, if somebody didn't know anything about Priest, I go along with what you're saying, Jeff. I would suggest Stained Class. That's an amazing album. It's got Beyond the Realms of Death, which is an amazing song. I also, the 80s stuff, I like Defenders of the Faith. I think that's a great album.
Yeah, I think that's a killer of an album, man.
Yeah.
Free Will Burn.
Yeah, Screaming for Vengeance too. Screaming for Vengeance.
Yeah,
Screaming for Vengeance.
Anthony Ferraro said Steve Walsh from Kansas.
Yeah.
It's another great one. He's got another one who's got kind of like an operatic type of vocal style. And I always had this misconception about Kansas that, Kansas was just kind of Southern rock, or I only knew the radio hits. But when you get deeper into, some of their earlier records, like their first two records in particular, have a real prog rock sound. Some of Song for America actually reminds me of Genesis. The Song for America, as a matter of fact, you could have fooled me that was a lost Genesis track. But Steve Walsh, and they had such a unique sound with the fiddle. I mean, what progressive rock band has a violin as part of their sound?
Yeah. Well, I think unfortunately Kansas gets remembered for Dust in the Wind and Carry On Your Wayward Son, or whatever the fuck that song is called. And they're good songs, but
Carry On,
like you said, Jeff,
son.
There's better Kansas. Right.
I was just saying that Craig's on in the chat, and he's like the biggest Kansas fan.
I was thinking the same thing. Craig loves Kansas.
He's got like everything.
So we have Kansas. We have Kansas, Boston, Alabama, Europe. I'm going to name my band Poughkeepsie.
There you go.
Well, and that's another thing about Kansas. Not to offend anybody, but I mean, I don't know. I don't like that name for a band name in a way. I mean, when somebody would first say, "Hey, have you heard of this band Kansas?" You'd think, what the hell? I mean, that just sounds like a band I don't want to listen to.
Like the band Wyoming.
Yeah.
I mean? Hey, I got the new Nevada record. It's awesome.
And the punk band Cheyenne. Cheyenne, Wyoming. Sorry.
And should we start naming some of our vocalists before everybody?
Let's let Jeff pre-start this.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes, but I don't care. We can start early. Well, I figured.
Oh, you're right.
Format
I didn't even realize what time it was. No,
yeah,
you're right.
All right.
I spoke out of turn, Jeff. I apologize.
I'll be the timekeeper here, Gary. You just lay low and you give your shit.
Gary, remember the rules we talked about before we started live. Gary, remember what Jeff has specific rules for us to follow.
Don't get impatient.
And he has a script all laid out for us, so I'm studying mine.
Exactly.
You will be kicked off.
If you pick Jackson Brown, he's kicking you right off the
Exactly. I can't even talk about it.
Well, I've already given Yoko Ono, I've already thrown that pick out there. But
God, she's horrible.
Well, and there are people that will say, they'll swear by Yoko Ono, like, no, she's got some good records. Listen to some of her early stuff. I'm like, no, thank you. I've heard all I need to hear.
The only song I can kind of get into is Kiss Kiss. Off of
Kiss me, love.
Yeah, whatever that song is.
Kiss will do. That one?
Chris, be careful what you say.
That's the one.
Your Yoko albums.
Well, I'm your angel. How about that one?
No.
Tra la 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 la.
Well, and what I don't understand, I don't want to make this a John and Yoko video, but I mean, John comes out with the song Woman, which is one of my favorite songs. And then Yoko follows with some bullshit after that. I'm like, really, John? I don't get it.
She was always like this, and I've got nothing against feminists, but she was just so very like aggressively feminist in a lot of her songs, and like, that's how I feel like she's kind of, really, in some of her songs, kind of railing against men and against John in general. John's songs are very conciliatory. You got I'm Losing You and Woman, and hers are just like rubbing his face in it. Well, you should be sorry, damn it. And you're right. I will walk out on your ass. I've done it before, and I'll throw you out again. It's sort of like, whoa. I'm going to get shot in a couple months. Well, ease up a little bit.
And no wonder the other Beatles were pissed off. I mean, we all watched Get Back. I mean, freaking Yoko is just hanging out there in the studio, like literally just sitting there, just giving evil eyes to everybody.
Just being very creepy.
Yeah.
So Craig says yelling like a dog in heat is not singing. I would agree. I don't know. I think that's a great description of Yoko. John the Dark Wizard says there was a band called Baton Rouge. Did not know that.
Yeah. They're awesome. I actually have their album.
Mike says, how about Stevie Nicks? She has a smokiness in her voice I compare a bit to Eddie Money. Totally agree. So yeah, I could not agree more. I love Stevie Nicks. In fact, when we were doing our favorite female vocalist, I think Stevie Nicks was one that we did not include, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say she didn't make, I don't think, any of our list. But
who commented? Was that Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves Stevie Nicks.
We obviously don't know anything about music.
We never claimed that we did, though. It's not like we started our channel saying like we were music experts.
Well, I did, but
oh, okay. I just happen to have a large.
I remember that Chris's first videos. He came on. He said, "I'm Chris Brophy. I'm here to educate you.
I know everything about music.
Call me the professor."
If you think you know about music, you surely.
I've forgotten more about music than you'll ever know.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think yeah, sorry.
Ding, 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 8 o'clock. Okay, so welcome everybody. We got quite a crowd here tonight. It must be because the NFL draft is not on, so I appreciate that. Oscars, everybody's caught up on Ozark, so very glad to have you join us. We're here talking about our top 5 favorite vocalists. Could be solo artists, could be part of a band, does not matter. We got Gary from Physical Format Rock and Roll, obviously, and the Justice League team. Representing City and Color, we have the professor of the BC, Chris Brophy, and resident Danzig Misfits fan, we got JC Flipside Vinyl rounding out our quartet. And so we're going to talk about our 5 favorite vocalists. We're going to do one at a time. We're going to start with Gary, who's going to give us our first pick. And we'll just kind of go around. And if we, get off topic and we start, rolling around in the gutter like we are wont to do after we've had a little too many of these, well, you just have to forgive us. All right, Gary, how's it going?
Good to be here. Good to be anywhere. Okay, my first pick for, you know what? I had to put at least one female in here. I could have made the whole list female, but I didn't. But I am going to pick Jeannette Napolitano from Concrete Blonde. I love her voice. That is the reason that I like this band, because I guarantee you, if there was somebody else singing on these albums, it would just not be the same. She has such a fantastic voice. Her range is incredible. She is very emotional in her singing. She they didn't really have too many hits, but like one of their biggest hits was Joey. And just take that song and listen to how she's singing the lines through most of it. It's more low key, and then it starts going up. She has points where it gets higher. She can scream when she has to, and she is just a very all around talented singer. I mean, she's a great songwriter too. She does the songwriting, but I love her voice, and that is the reason why I fell in love with Concrete Blonde, was because of her voice. So, are we just doing one? Are we doing all?
Yeah, we're just gonna go around and do our first one.
Okay.
One by one.
Well, that's my first pick then.
Nice.
Great pick. Well, and I mean, considering we're limiting our list to 5, I got to say that's very high praise.
She's one of the best.
Yeah, she's very nice to look at as well.
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
Well, somebody else who is very nice to look at is John Anderson from Yes. And had to. So here's the thing. Tonight, I'm going to be showing 5 different genres. So this is obviously my prog record. And, I can't really think of anybody else. I know Yes has had other singers, and they currently have a different singer, but I can't really think of anybody else to sing for Yes than John Anderson. He has this ethereal quality to his vocals. He has this almost childlike delivery and sound to his vocals that matches the music perfectly. I also respect him as a lyricist as well. So not only was he a great match vocally for the band, but his lyrics were just perfect for them. And that's the thing with prog rock is I feel like good prog rock should take you on a journey, and John Anderson definitely helps Yes in accomplishing that. So yeah, I had to put John Anderson in here.
Well, he's definitely got one of the most unique voices in prog rock, along with Geddy Lee. I think, and it's interesting, John Davison, who's with Yes right now and has done the last 2 studio albums with Yes, sounds a heck of a lot like John Anderson, which I don't think is any coincidence. But yeah, he's one of those vocalists really hard to replicate. It's such a unique sound and so distinctive. I mean, there's each member of Yes doesn't sound like anybody else. John Davison is so distinctive.
Yeah.
Steve Howe is so distinctive, and Bill Bruford on drums. Mm-hmm. I mean, every single member of Yes, Rick Wakeman, on keyboards. I mean, they all you hear a Yes song on the radio, immediately who it is. And
John Anderson has some great solo records as well. But this is definitely one of my favorite Yes albums. I know it's a difficult record, but Tales from Topographic Oceans is a very rewarding album.
That's a cool choice. This is going to be interesting because, I never even thought of that. But now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's a very, very great singer.
I'm going to blow your mind tonight, Gary.
You always do, Chris. You just want to get a couple of other suggestions. Mike's got Natalie Merchant, obviously from 10,000 Maniacs, and also solo. Beth Hart, Terry Kath from Chicago, another great soulful vocalist. Leather Leone of Chastain, I'm not familiar with her. Colin Hay from Men at Work. So Joanne Taylor. So already we got some people weighing in, a lot of female artists.
Yeah, John had said also Wilson from Heart, Ann Wilson. So yeah,
Wilson,
I mean, there's so many good ones.
Yeah, she was right there.
Yeah. So I went a little bit different route. I did not go with the five who I think the five best singers in music is. So a lot of my choices people may have issue with, because obviously some of my choices can't hold a candle to like Ann Wilson from Heart, and I love Ann Wilson from Heart. But I went with five unique singers that really resonate with me and stick with me. My number five will probably get the most slack because this is probably one of the people that they think is one of the worst vocalists in music, and that is Tom Waits. But I do feel that Tom Waits' gravelly voice, his gasoline voice, adds so much character to his music. It's the reason why I love it. The way he illustrates a story, like on this album, what's he building in there? It's about like watching your neighbor, and he's like stays up late at night, and he's talking in this dark and mysterious voice. And then another song like Singapore, when he's singing like a drunken pirate, all of those, the inflection that he uses in his voice like an actor, it's no doubt that he is a great actor because he adds so much character to his voice. The only thing I can equate it to is when you go see Bruce Springsteen live, especially acoustic, Bruce Springsteen sometimes will sing a particular word in a different way that it's on the album because he wants you to pay attention to it. Like the example I can give is in Long Time Coming, in the album he's talking about, feeling his wife's belly and she's pregnant again. He's like, man, I hope I don't fuck it up this time. But when he sings it live in acoustic, he stops and he pauses, and the way he says, I hope I don't fuck it up this time, really makes the whole audience suck into it and go, they feel the drama of not wanting to be a bad father. Tom Waits does that in every single song. There's always words and meaning, and that's why I love him so much. It's why he's my favorite artist. So Tom Waits, my number five vocalist. I know it's probably much maligned and hated, but there you go.
Well, here's the thing, Josh, and you bring up a good point. And I was thinking about this too. A top vocalist doesn't mean somebody who is trained vocally, who has this beautiful voice and who can sing the phone book. Sometimes it's about somebody who has a unique style to their voice, or somebody who brings maybe a character to their singing. So it's not always the pretty vocals. It's sometimes that character voice as well.
Yeah, my picks are going to really represent that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You wear a dress, honey, I wear a tie. Yeah, that's my Tom Waits impression, isn't it? All right, anyway.
I thought that was your Yoko
Ono. All right, well, my pick, I don't know that I'm going in 5 different genres, but my pick is one of the most perfect voices I think you will ever hear on record. I'm going to go with Sam Cooke.
Nice.
Love Sam Cooke. Started out singing gospel and, worked his way into more secular music, but so many great hits. And he had a voice like no other. There's never been anybody who sounded like Sam Cooke. I mean, his voice was so velvety smooth, and he had such a range to him. And all of his songs are just classics. You Send Me is fantastic. Cupid, What a Wonderful World is great. I mean, you forget how many fantastic songs Sam Cooke had in his brief career. But you think, if he hadn't died at 63, what he would have gone on to do. And, along with Ray Charles, I think pretty much invented soul music. But I love Sam Cooke. I need to get more of this stuff. I don't have anything on record. This is a great, the sound on this CD is incredible. It's been remastered, and it is the best sounding Sam Cooke that I've ever heard. So
nice.
Yeah, his voice is amazing.
Mm-hmm. All right, what do we got in the comments section? We got Let's see. I think we got some Ian Gillan represented. Steve Perry. Yeah, Burton Cummings.
Oh
yeah, absolutely. I love Burton Cummings' voice. Absolutely. If Aaron were here, I know Aaron would have picked Burton Cummings.
He's got a great voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Gary, back to you.
All right, my next pick. We we were already talking about him here a minute ago, but I went for the metal god, Rob Halford. Rob Halford is another, guy that, I think because of his voice is a big reason why I fell in love with Judas Priest. I love the fact that, just like I was kind of talking about before, his range is incredible. He's tapered off a little bit, but, he's 70 years old or whatever he is now, but he's still pretty damn good. But, when you think of his career and, he's the guy, Chris was talking about Black Sabbath kind of starting metal, and then Judas Priest took it to another level. So you had Rob Halford, who can do a lower menacing kind of voice, but then he can also do any of that stuff Ian Gillan did, like with Deep Purple, and hit all this high stuff and even take it to this crazy stratosphere where you're going, holy shit, what's that guy doing? How's he hitting these notes? It's just amazing. And I like that. And, I'm a classic metal guy. I'm not really much into newer metal. I can't stand Cookie Monster vocals. So, not into death metal, those kind of things, but I love classic metal. And Rob Halford to me is just a classic metal. He's the metal god, man, because, he brought this to heavy metal music, this range. And he's, once again, he writes some pretty darn cool lyrics to go along with it. And man, I don't know. You guys are familiar with the song Judas Rising, but he's just like doing this high-pitched voice through that entire, it starts out with this wah, that he just boom, it goes right into the song, and it's awesome. So Rob Halford is my number 4 pick.
Is that your favorite Halford performance? Do you have like a certain song that you feel is his best?
I don't know. Well, Beyond the Realms of Death, I think, is a great showing of his vocal skills, because he does a little bit of everything in that one.
Yeah.
What about Victim of Changes?
Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Don't ask me. I didn't pick. And you guys could start mentioning them, and I go, oh yeah, that one. No, that one.
Well, I will say this too, Rob, and that's a great choice, Gary. And Rob Halford, that guy can actually really sing. And I'm going to point out the song "Last Rose of Summer" off of Sin After Sin. I think it's basically like a folk song, and you can just tell he has a beautiful voice when he's not screaming. Yeah. So he could do anything.
Yeah. Well, he's got one. There's a song called "Eulogy," where he sings totally different too, and so along those lines.
So, Josh, Trevor, I think we should send. Sorry,
Trevor says, "Yeah, how do you not pick Halford? Unreal high shrieks, ability to hold foolishly long notes, one of the most difficult vocals." Mm-hmm. That kind of sums it all up, doesn't it?
Yeah, Halford is amazing.
Before the Dawn, that's a good one.
Yeah. And Josh, I was just going to say, we should send Gary, since he loves Cookie Monster vocals, we should send him some Death Records and Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
But Gary, what's your thoughts on King Diamond? Is that too operatic for you?
Fate? I can take it in doses. I'm not, I don't hate it, but I don't love it like you guys do.
Yeah. We're a glutton for punishment.
Mike just threw in Robin Zander from Cheap Trick.
Oh man, I love Robin Zander.
Great.
So many good ones.
Yeah,
he might show up in this list.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, jump the gun a little bit. All right, Chris.
Okay, so this sort of kind of goes along with what Josh was saying when he picked Tom Waits. This guy doesn't have the range, but there's something about his vocals that I like, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But I'm picking him because I was listening to him more because I actually just got tickets to see him live. I'm going to see him live May 17th, and I'm talking about Bob Mould, the lead singer of What Was Husker Du. And he is still making records. I have his new record called Blue Hearts. So he's doing solo stuff as well. And here's why I picked him. And I'm doing different genres. So this is my punk / alternative genre. And I'm picking Bob Mould because I really feel that Husker Du, and I'll throw REM in there as well. Husker Du and REM really formed the sound of alternative music in the early 80s. If you listen to Bob Mould's vocal stylings and the way he presented the songs, you're going to hear so many of the alternative bands that followed that. And a lot of people think of Husker Du as just a punk band, but they morphed into what alternative music became. So I think it's safe to say that Bob Mould's vocal stylings really went on to form what is alternative music. And again, does he have the range? No, but that guy in the beginning, he could scream his head off. Those early Husker Du albums are pure punk aggression, but then he morphed into this singer-songwriter, Michael Stipe sort of sound that I really think was influential, more influential than most people think.
Well, I didn't pick him in my top 5, but I feel that kind of the same way about Roger Waters. You know, technically he's not like a great vocalist, but he's got such a theatrical kind of a voice, you know, especially on The Wall, you know, a song like The Trial, where he's really, you know, singing different characters, and he's got so much emotion. He can have venom in his voice, and he can, you know, have like a softer kind of delivery. And, you know, people kind of rag on him because he's not David Gilmour. He's got a bit of a nasal quality to his vocal, but I still, you know, any Roger Waters vocals, I mean, he definitely, he plays a part, and he makes up for, you know, he doesn't have that technical proficiency or whatever it is with his voice, but he makes up for it with his conviction and his passion, and you know, just the way that he can almost act when he's singing. But I don't know if that's sort of around like what you were talking about with Bob Mould, you know, but.
Yeah, and I would challenge anybody, if you are an REM fan, listen to the Husker Du album, Warehouse Songs and Stories, and also listen to their albums when they went on to the Warner Brothers label, like Candy Apple Gray. Warehouse Songs and Stories is on Warner Brothers as well, but there's a major alternative vibe on those albums, and they were doing that before a lot of these bands.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it has to do with Bob Mould's vocal style.
So guys, we got some good comments. We got Rod Stewart, Brian Wilson, Alice Cooper, Jeff from Queensryche. Oh man, I love his vocals. Taylor Goldsmith from Dawes. Some really cool comments down there.
Yeah, Brian Wilson I thought about just because I love his, you know, those early 60s, his falsetto. Just the pureness of his voice until he wrecked it doing drugs. Was one of the purest voices you'll ever hear. So he almost made my list, but yeah, I totally agree. Or Carl Wilson for that matter. You could say Carl Wilson too.
Yeah.
The angelic voice of Carl Wilson. So
what about Dennis?
Yeah.
Do you want to dance?
But he, you know, he had a good voice, but then he's another one who wrecked it. You know, by the late 70s, he sounded like Tom Waits. You know, and he had a great voice too. I mean, he really did, like a song like Forever. You know, beautiful vocal on that. But by the end of the 70s, you're so beautiful to me. I mean, you see any footage of Dennis Wilson from the late 70s, it's really a crying shame how they didn't take care of their voices. Brian Wilson trashed his voice. Dennis Wilson trashed his voice. You know, one of my picks is somebody who trashed their voice in the 70s. But we're not there yet. So I'm going to throw it over to you, JC.
All right. So my next one, I want to preface this because I know we have people that weren't here at the beginning. I'm not going for best vocal because I know Chris Cornell has a lot better voice than this man, but this is probably my favorite vocal performance from the 90s. Lane from Alice in Chains. I just think he had such a unique voice. No one really sang like him. You know, it was the harmonies that he did with Jerry obviously were fantastic. But to me, the 4 to 5 albums, I know some were EPs, that Alice in Chains made in the early 90s were just so fantastic. And he was a big part of it. I absolutely love his vocal style. And I don't think anyone's ever been able, you know, people try to imitate it, but they couldn't, you know. And I know that during the 90s, obviously Chris Cornell, rightfully so, was probably known as the best vocalist. Everybody tried to rip off Eddie Vedder. And we had a lot of Eddie Vedder rip-offs. You know, Kurt Cobain was very unique, but to me, this was the most unique of all the grunge acts, even though they're technically metal. But yeah, Alice in Chains Lane would be my number 4 choice.
Well, cool. And that kind of goes along with what I was saying. Alice in Chains is sort of like the Husker Du argument. I feel like Alice in Chains, everybody copied their harmonies. You know, all of a sudden it was like all these bands sound like Alice in Chains, the harmonies, because they developed that sound. Right. And then everybody's like, oh, that's so cool. We're going to do it on our record too. So I think it was sort of that influential vocal style.
Right. And I do think that, you know, like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden were definitely influenced by Black Sabbath. Like listening to those records now, like they're like a song, you know, like what was the name of the big hit on this? I can't even think of Man in a Box, right? Like such a Sabbathy song, you know, or Soundgarden 4th of July. It's, but, you know, vocally, they don't sound like Ozzy, obviously, you know, but yeah, I love it.
All right.
All right.
I just want to stick in here. Our friend Rich Strickler has his top 5 male vocalists. He's got Paul Rogers, Levi Stubbs, Burton Cummings, Eric Burden, and Sam Cooke. So he's got one of the same ones that you did, Jeffrey.
Yeah, glad to see Rich weigh in on that. I'm glad we have the same thinking alike on that one. Well, actually, when you were reading that list, I thought for sure he was going to pick my next vocalist. I'm going to go with Roger Daltrey.
Yeah.
From The Who. And, you know, I think Roger Daltrey, you talk about influential vocalists, you know, Roger Daltrey, you know, singing, you know, and he's one whose vocal style evolved. You know, he kind of had that mod rocker early 60s sound. And then by the time of Tommy, you know, now he's, you know, got a more robust, I guess, kind of voice. You know, the songs on Tommy, he just sings brilliantly. And then Who's Next? You've got those anthems. Bob O'Reilly, Won't Get Fooled Again, one of his greatest vocal performances. That shriek before the final verse of Won't Get Fooled Again is just iconic. Quadrophenia, Love Reign O'er Me. I mean, Roger Daltrey really, I think, defined a lot of the heavy vocal style that came after him. I mean, his work on Live at Leeds, you know, which was one of the first epic live rock albums. But Roger Daltrey still, I mean, his voice obviously has aged, that, you know, like most vocalists of his era, you know, it's not what it used to be. But when he was at his prime in the early 70s, I mean, there was nobody's voice more powerful than Roger Daltrey. And even though he wasn't a heavy metal singer, I think you could say he influenced a lot of, you know, vocalists that came after him, just with that powerful voice that he had. And, you know, he was another one who had such a distinct vocal style. But
yeah, I mean, if anyone doubts the Who's influence on heavy metal, they're idiots. You know what I mean? Like, there definitely were a major influence. And I remember being a kid and my father sitting me down to hear Quadrophenia, you know what I mean? And pointing out like different vocal parts and like, listen to this, you're gonna love this, Josh. And yeah, man, he was amazing. I was so happy I got to see the Who back in the day. I know that his voice is not the same now, but yeah, incredible.
well, like Roger Waters, he got very theatrical. I mean, you got Tommy, you got Quadrophenia, where he's playing different parts, and he's got to be soft, and then he's got to be loud, and then it's like really, they call it a rock opera because it is theatrical and it is very operatic, his vocal style. But I love the range of his voice. I love that he can take on different personas, and he can growl, and he can sing a song like Behind Blue Eyes very tenderly, and then the next minute, the very next track, he's just totally belting out a hard rocker like that. So,
well, really, that's an excellent choice. The only reason he's not on my list is because I was kind of hoping you were going to pick him. If you take the song you just mentioned, Behind Blue Eyes, that's a great example of his vocal powers, because he's singing that really soft part in it, and then all of a sudden he gets angry and aggressive. I feel like Tommy is the album where he kind of found his voice, and then Who's Next is where he perfected it. Because then it's like he could do whatever he needed to. Like you said, very expressive, kind of a macho sounding voice a lot of times. He kind of sounds like a tough guy, I think, in a lot of those vocals. When you think of Behind Blue Eyes,
well, he could sing like a choir boy.
Open.
Yeah, like he could sing like a choir boy, or he could sing, like a demon. I mean, that's the whole beauty of Roger Daltrey's voice, is just that range. He wasn't a one-note singer like a Brian Johnson, nothing against Brian Johnson, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, sounds, the same every song he sang. But anyway, what do we got in the comments, Josh? We got some more.
Yeah, we got some great ones. Really do. Trevor says Paul Rogers, unbelievable. Freddie Mercury, Phil Anselmo, Halford, Brian Johnson, all fantastic picks. Craig says the singer of Steelheart. LGF213 says Mike Patton. Mike Patton came so close to making my list. I mean, I had it in my hand all week thinking about Mike Patton. Just amazing vocalist. And Robert on my turntable just says, hey.
Hey, what's up, Robert?
Cheers.
What's up, Robert?
It's a Heineken kind of morning.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
I was kind of going to say this when you mentioned Brian Johnson. Trevor Hickey here mentioned, actually, Brian Johnson, sometimes he does kind of have a soulful voice every now and then that he does use, especially like the Black Ice album. I think you hear more of it on there. So, I mean, he's more than just.
I didn't no disrespect to Brian Johnson. I just mean you're never going to hear him singing Behind Blue Eyes, or.
No. Yeah, I'm not putting him in that category or anything, but I mean, he is, pretty good at what he does, I guess. Is what I want to say.
For sure.
So my next pick is somebody that I think is, now he doesn't have maybe necessarily the best range of some of these other singers that we're talking about, but I think he has a great voice for blues rock, and that would be David Coverdale. Yes. So Coverdale, he started out with the job of, taking over from Ian Gillan in Deep Purple. And he brought a different feel to the band. The one great thing, and I can't mention David Coverdale in Deep Purple without talking about Glenn Hughes, because Glenn Hughes was right there with him. A lot of times they sang together, or David Coverdale might sing part of it, and then maybe Glenn Hughes would do part of it. But Coverdale just had that kind of sexy, macho kind of voice at times. When you think of like this album, Slide It In, the song Slow and Easy, I got a superstitious woman with a superstitious mind, and I don't mind. You know what I mean? And then he goes higher all of a sudden when he's ready to rock it out. But he could just play it really cool, get into it. Of course, then with the 87 album, he, did like Still of the Night stuff. He started pushing his voice a lot more, getting more higher and, probably kind of help make his voice the way it is today, which is not as good. He still sounds cool though. His voice is a lot rougher, but a lot of times I don't mind that. I just think he's just got a perfect hard rock voice, hard bluesy rock. He just sounds like somebody who's not gargled with whiskey, but, had a few sips of it, is feeling good. He's rocking out, and he's just an all around cool guy. So David Coverdale is my next pick.
You know what's crazy about his voice is when he sings, girls just want to get on the hoods of their cars.
Yeah, right. And roll around and shit.
Yeah.
I wish I had that gift. Gary, I'm so glad you chose that because you know how much I love Whitesnake. I love Whitesnake so much, and I figured you would. And David Coverdale is just, he's just a man. And the older I get, the more I appreciate him, as a vocalist and just that.
I agree with that. I mean, I've always liked him, but I feel like as I've gotten older, I feel the same way. I'm like, this guy just has the perfect voice for what he does.
And it puts you in such a good mood.
Yeah, well, and David Copperfield, you figure he had to follow, the act he had to follow with Ian Gillan. I mean, that was no slouch singer, but
they're gonna kick you out of the Whitesnake fan club.
Hopefully we can get Chris to sing a couple lines of Still of the Night here at some point. But
Still of the Night, Still of the Night, Still of the Night.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
Man, I wish I could sing and girls would just get on their hoods. Now, when I sing, girls put their hoods over their heads and they walk away. But
that's not true.
All right. Well, listen, my next choice is not going to be popular, but I really don't care. I'm going with the country genre, and I'm going with Garth Brooks. I think Garth Brooks has a great voice. I modeled a lot of my singing from. I wanted to be Garth Brooks when I was a kid, and his vocal style sort of went on to influence a lot of those '90s country singers. And I just think this he can sing a ballad, he can sing a honky tonk song. He could sing, he even does on this. Well, this is one of my favorite albums by him, but he does Little Feat's Dixie Chicken on here too. So he kind of could sing a little bit of everything. And it's funny because I think he put on the whole country persona. Like he sang with a twang that it was sort of manufactured, because you hear him sing other things and it's like, oh, I don't hear that twang anymore. But, like I said, he just has that vocal style that I love, and I think it was copied. I sure as hell copied his vocal style, and I can still listen to Garth Brooks and say, wow, this guy can sing. So yeah, maybe not a popular choice, but I had to represent country, and 90s country is some of my favorite country, and Garth Brooks is definitely up there. I was going to pick Dwight Yoakam, but I've already talked about Dwight Yoakam, so I went with my man Garth.
Yeah, I love Dwight. And by the way, Chris, Mike said you scared his cat when you did your David Coverdale Still the Night.
Still the Night.
There goes Racer. There he goes. He's going.
Oh, Mike's got the spin, says Travis Tritt. Yeah, remember that song, Here's a Quarter, Call Someone Who Cares?
Yeah,
that was a great song.
That.
Yeah.
Zeppro named some fantastic artists. Did you see his comment?
Yeah.
He named Robert Plant, Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, Ronnie James Dio, I love Ronnie so much, Eddie Vedder, Sarah McLaughlin, John Anderson, Tom Kiefer, Jeff Tate, Pat Benatar. I mean, all of those are just artists I love.
5. Okay, you get 5. You're not allowed to just make this laundry list of art because you're taking our picks. Maybe. How do you know I don't have Tom? Maybe I have Tom Kiefer on my list. You don't know.
If one day Zepro wants to join this video, he's going to have to tighten the game. Sure.
Yeah. Come on. How about
we already have one
from Big and Rich? No. Okay.
Still the night.
All right. Well,
you lead singer from Smash Mouth. Anyone?
Who is that guy?
His name?
I don't even know his name.
Can I pick Rod McEwen or not? No, probably not. So
yes, you could. If you thought your last pick was going to be unpopular,
we have a zero tolerance for Rod McEwen on our live streams.
So, my next artist, my girlfriend is obsessed that I like her because of her looks, but it really is her voice because I don't think anyone sings like her at all, and that is Miss Lana Del Rey. I really love her vocal style. It's so jazzy and sexy and sultry, and I just don't think there's anyone like her. Now, that being said, do I think that her voice is anywhere near as good as Ann Wilson? No, not even in the same ballpark. But in terms of what I'm going for tonight and just vocal styles that I really love, that are so unique and so different, it's captivating to me. I love her vocal style. And just like the last 2 artists that I picked, she accentuates certain words to really suck you into the song. And that's what I love about particular vocalists. So Lana Del Rey, that's my next pick.
And Josh, I don't know if you know this, but if David Coverdale sang to Lana, she would get on a hood of a car.
Wow. David Coverdale could get me on a hood.
Yeah.
Well, the model on the Car's second album, she'd been listening to some mid-70s Deep Purple.
Did she listen to Burn?
Like, yeah.
That's so. This is my dream, is to be with a woman.
Maybe you shouldn't share this.
No, be with a woman and I've only had one beer, and Cinco de Mayo, Modelo, but
Hello.
Can you imagine being in a relationship with a woman like Lana Del Rey? Waking up in the morning, you turn next to yourself in the bed, and there's fucking Lana Del Rey. And I would want her to bring me a glass of orange juice and sing something. That would be amazing. You guys with me on this?
If I woke up next to Lana Del Rey,
bring me a sandwich and sing, damn it, while you're at it.
I know. I wouldn't ask her to do shit. Let me get the orange juice. Are you comfortable?
Dude, she is.
Fuck my way to the top.
Smoking.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, Chris, this is why we get along so well.
Well, if I ever want a woman on the hood of my car, I have to hit her in the crosswalk. But anyway, my pick is, and I like this artist in the same way I like Sam Cooke. He's got such a pure voice. Unfortunately, in the late 70s, he totally destroyed it by chain smoking and alcoholism and everything. But in his prime, he had one of the most beautiful voices. And I know probably as a man, that's not what you want to hear. But when I show you the artist, I think it'll all make sense. But I'm going with Harry Nielsen. Harry Nielsen has such a pure, tremendous voice. Up through, I would say, this album, actually. But not only was he a great singer, but he was a brilliant songwriter. Unfortunately, because he had stage fright, he never really got the recognition I think that he deserved because he never toured. He put out some great albums. He wrote great songs for other artists, Three Dog Night, The Monkees, so many great artists that he wrote for. I think one of his biggest hits early on was the Everybody's Talking from the Midnight Cowboy soundtrack. But he had just such a, listen to a song like Daddy Song or One, those early Harry Nielsen albums. It's just a heavenly sound that comes out of him. And Harry Nielsen, another artist that we lost to soon. He was definitely a huge Beatle fan. I mean, he hung out and, got up to no good with Ringo Starr and John Lennon. Obviously, he was friends with Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, Robin Williams. But he loved to sing, and he loved to party just as hard as he, could sing. But Harry Nielsen, immediately when you talk about, great vocalist, that's one of the first names that comes to mind for me, anyway. And, this is, I know if you can find it, this is a great CD package to have. It's got every one of his studio albums. I mean, there's like 16 albums in this, but he is just a remarkable singer.
Well, listen, anybody endorsed by the Monkees is
Mike's got the spin, so he wanted to be the fifth Beatle. Yeah, absolutely. He was godfather to Ringo Starr's son, Zach Starkey. Fun fact. But John Lennon, sung his praises when they heard his first album, Pandemonium Shadow Show. The Monkees were huge fans of Nielsen, the Beatles, Beach Boys. Brian Wilson was a big Harry Nielsen fan. Harry Nielsen did a cover of Randy Newman's songs, which inspired the cover of the album that Mickey Dolenz did covering Mike Nesmith's songs. But yeah, Harry Nielsen. I know if Aaron were here, he might have even picked him. I know I'm picking all Aaron's songs for him tonight, or all Aaron's artists for him tonight, but Harry Nielsen
wasn't Nielsen's daughter Tawny Katane?
No.
No, that was even close. That's David Copperfield's girlfriend. She was on the, I don't know if you know this. Don't know if you know this, but Rat's album, Out of the Cellar.
Yeah, that's Tawny Katane. Yeah.
That is Tawny Katane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't she on America's Funniest Home Videos or something like that? Some prime time show.
You're thinking of I can't think of that woman's name.
Punky
She's hot.
No,
she was on some show, and maybe somebody can in the comments section, but I know she was on some kind of show. She wasn't wearing the outfit she was wearing on Out of the Cellar, but she was a host of some show. I don't know, whatever it is.
All right, so someone down below put what show Tawny Katane was on. So we know.
And name that woman that was on the America's Funniest Videos. She was the co-host of some. I can't think of her name.
Yeah. And also tell us your favorite Rat song.
See, now I got to do it. Now I got to Wikipedia it because it's driving me crazy. So, Gary, while you're giving your next pick, I am gonna look up.
There goes Chris. God damn it. Okay. So my next pick. Nobody noticed him at first because he started out in a band that was named after one of Santa's helpers.
America's Funniest People. I'm sorry, America's Funniest People. She was a host of America's Funniest People. Anyway.
Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way. That's okay. That's okay.
He was only talking. He was in mid-sentence.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll start over. Now, he came to people's attention once he joined up with Ritchie Blackmore in Rainbow. Went from that, took over for Ozzy in Black Sabbath. Not this particular album, but this is the one I want to show. And then, of course, he went solo. I am talking about what I consider to be probably the greatest metal singer of all time, Ronnie James Dio, all 4'2" of him. A little guy with a tremendous voice. He might not have hit those, really high notes like, say, Rob Halford did, but it's like he just brought this great sense of melody, for one thing, I think, to metal. When you listen to those songs, just listen to the difference of Black Sabbath when you had Ozzy singing, which, by the way, I love that. I love all that stuff. I'm not putting Ozzy down. But you listen to the difference, and all of a sudden there was a melody in the vocals that there was not there before, because Ozzy just followed whatever riff that Iommi came up with, as where Ronnie, had his own different lines. He was singing something. He was a better singer than Ozzy was. And whatever he has done, he has succeeded at it. He had some albums, a few solo albums there where, they weren't that great. If it had been anybody else singing, they'd have been total trash. But the fact that it was still his voice on there, he could sound so menacing without sounding over the top menacing. It's like he just had this natural sound to his voice, but he could also sing really soft. He had this very mellow, soft voice that he would use, and then he would just hit you like a hammer. And he pulled it off live too. He was not a studio creation. He did it clear up until the end. Before he passed away, he was still singing great. And I just think his just an expressive way that he sang, and kind of like what Josh was talking about with, other singers, just the way he said certain words were really cool, very metal in a way. And he's also, the guy that kind of brought that to the world. So,
well, Gene Simmons says he created that.
Yeah, Gene Simmons did this, this is the I love you sign in sign language. This is the metal sign, and that's what Dio did. This is the sign of the devil. He got this from his grandmother, his Italian grandmother.
So. His grandmother a devil worshiper?
Well, of course. No, she would do that to kind of ward off evil type thing or something. Anyway, Ronnie James Dio. That's my pick.
Awesome. Well, he was very short of stature too. He wasn't some robust, presence on stage. But damn, the voice that came out of him was just otherworldly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you look at the period where he had the Rainbow albums, 2 Sabbath albums, and those first 2 Dio albums, it's such a short period of time. It's 5 years. If those were all under the Dio moniker, he'd probably be in the Hall of Fame. I think it's a crime that he's not, because you're right. Yeah. He is the greatest metal singer of all time. He is so fantastic. And he had more than 6 legendary albums, because I actually love most of the Dio albums. But those 6 albums are just so incredible. Well, actually, no, he had 3 Rainbow. 2.
Yeah.
Right? And those first 2. So it's 7 albums in a very, very, very short period of time.
Yeah, but dude, don't forget about Elf. Elf.
Yeah, the Elf albums aren't bad, but I'm just talking about 3 Rainbow albums are legendary. The 2 Sabbath albums are even more legendary, and then those first 2 Dio albums, those are all near perfect albums.
Yeah, you're right. It's insane the high level that he was reaching, and you're right, in a short period of time.
Yeah, very short period of time. 7 amazing metal staples, right? So,
wasn't he in Fleetwood Mac for an album in the early 70s before the whole Stevie Nicks?
Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
Yeah, him and Peter Green.
He was in Bare Trees.
Was he? Okay, yeah, because I knew him and Bob Welch collaborated on a couple of tracks, but
yeah,
cool.
Well, I really should have picked Michael Nesmith.
You're gonna do an Aaron?
Okay,
Come
Aaron.
on.
Yeah.
Look at the hype, JC.
I love that hype, man. You got me right with the hype.
All right, but I'm going to go. This is my metal genre. And I tried to pick somebody. I knew we were going to pick Rob Halford. I'm surprised somebody hasn't mentioned Bruce Dickinson yet. Ronnie James Dio. I love all those guys. But I tried to pick somebody out of the box. And this is one of, I feel like, the best metal singers. And nobody really talks about him that much. I don't even talk about him that much. And I had to look up how to pronounce his name. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It's Michael Kiskay from Halloween. He has a phenomenal vocal range. I remember as a kid being into Maiden and, cutting my teeth on Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And then I heard Halloween with Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. This happens to be their newest record. They have both of their lead singers. Actually, I think there's 3 singers on this album. Kai Hansen's on this as well. But Michael Kiskay, and again, I'm hoping I pronounced his name right. What a phenomenal range this guy has. And Halloween really isn't talked about enough too. I mean, they pretty much invented power metal. So, I wanted to kind of go outside of the box here a little bit and pick somebody that I think needs to be talked about more.
I love it. They're a great choice. That's amazing vocalists. They have 3 great vocalists, like you said,
Yeah. I have a couple of his solo CDs as well. He's just got a great range, great singer.
Awesome. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
And he's bald now, like some of us.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
All right. My next pick is a Jeff Witcher favorite. Jeff probably assumed I was going to pick this person because I absolutely love this man's vocals. And that is Morrissey, one of the most hated men in the world. But just like, obviously the Smiths, we're all mesmerized by Johnny's guitar work, right? But Morrissey's vocals instantly, grab you. And they continue with his solo work. He's, kind of croons. Sometimes people don't like how he rolls his tongue during live performances and things like that. But I dig it all. I dig the arrogance in his voice, the smugness of his voice, the sometimes the over the top lyrics. I just think he's got a fantastic vocal, and it sucks you in. I mean, that's all I can really say is that if Morrissey's vocals don't grab you, even if you dislike you have to pay attention. And I love it. He's one of my favorite vocalists. So yeah, Morrissey.
I think what's great about him too is that I was going to say what's great about him too.
We're just going to talk over each other. Go ahead,
Chris. Go first. Jeff, go second.
My turn? All right. I think what's great about him is that he's just unapologetically English. Like, if you look up what a British singer of a pop band probably sounds like, there'd be a picture of Morrissey right there. And just his humor and his lyrics is just so, I just want to, eat fish and chips and walk, to go see Big Ben whenever I listen to his vocals. Right, Gary?
Morrissey's unapologetically everything. He's unapologetically vegetarian. He's unapologetically, I don't know what his politics are, but whatever his politics are, he's unapologetic about it. But he's got a very polarizing voice. I mean, you can love Johnny Marr, the way he plays guitar. You can love that rhythm section, and you can say, I fucking hate Morrissey's vocals. I can't stand it. Aaron Mutha Alamere. But, in some cases, it's got to be, because I used to love the Smiths in college, and all my college roommates were like, well, I can't take his voice. I'm like, but you listen to Geddy Lee, how is that? I mean, that's definitely an acquired taste. And I think Morrissey is an acquired taste also. But once you fall in love with it, I mean, you're a Morrissey fan for life. But Yeah, great pick. I didn't pick Morrissey because I knew you were going to Josh, and I already in one of our previous videos took the Smiths or took Morrissey. So yeah,
it's funny, Jeff.
Totally.
The more you ignore me, Jeff, the closer I get.
That's why he had that restraining order put in place.
Yeah.
I hate it. We hate it when your YouTube friends become successful.
It's funny. I was a lifeguard for a while, and I was sleeping, and there was a girl drowning. It was I was fired from that job, by the way.
My girlfriend's in a coma.
Yeah.
Oh no.
My wife said to me, "You're the one for me, fatty." Anyway,
some girls are
bigger than others. Yeah.
So, all right, are you guys done with this nonsense?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't sing often, but when I do sing often, people compare me to my next choice. And that is going to be Mr. James Douglas Morrison from The Doors.
The Mojo Rising.
Little girl.
This is the end.
Lost, little girl. You're lost. Tell me who are you? I mean, it's like our voices are so compatible. Anyway,
chills.
Anyway, yeah, right. Ooh, I've even got goosebumps on my own arm. Wow. Anyway, Jim Morrison, he was somebody who I don't think grew up wanting to be a vocalist. I know he was a big Frank Sinatra fan growing up, so he's got that crooning style, but he's another very theatrical singer. The album before, Waiting for the Sun, Strange Days, his most theatrical performance, Horse Latitudes, just demonstrates the range of his vocals. But he could croon, or he could, be a Delta blues singer like Roadhouse Blues. Just another singer who the range of his voice is just so staggering. And he's only got 6 albums to his credit, 6 studio albums to his credit, but there's nobody who, I think is more iconic in terms of, 60 singers than Jim Morrison. And I mean, from Light My Fire to, I think his last 2 albums, he'd always wanted to be a blues singer. I mean, you got some of that in his early albums, like Backdoor Man was a very bluesy kind of song that he did. But, LA Woman, his voice just sounds so much more husky than it did on those early Doors records. But I just love Jim Morrison, and the Lizard King, and some of his poetry. I think it's a little bit pretentious, but for Jim Morrison, I don't know, to have seen him live had to have been an amazing experience, because he just commanded the stage, and you can't help but be engaged when you listen to a Doors song, no matter how mediocre of a Doors song it is. Jim Morrison, the voice, it just completely, your attention is just focused on him. And it's just such an interesting song. Any song the Doors did was interesting because of the way Jim Morrison could sing, and he could hold the attention of an audience especially when he was drunk. But he just had that way about him. He was such a personality, and he, unfortunately, is another one of those singers gone too soon. But what he left us with was, he influenced so many great singers like Danzig, Ian Astbury from The Cult. There's so many singers who are indebted to Jim Morrison.
Lana Del Rey.
Mm-hmm.
Morrison rules. Hey, before we do our number 1, do you want me to read some comments?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Mike said that you were sultry, Jeff, just so you know. Zep Pearl said that you nailed it. I can't pronounce this, but Gazn. How do you pronounce that? Gazin?
Gazin?
He said more like the Grinch, Jeff. Haha. So I think he said it. He said it nicely.
My singing?
Yes.
or my demeanor.
But Daddy Bog says someone has to pick Jagger. I replied to Jagger rules because he does.
Love me 2 times, baby. Love me twice today. You should sing karaoke.
Did you know that?
You cannot petition the Lord with prayer.
Yeah.
You cannot petition the Lord with prayer.
Love it.
When the still sea conspires in armor.
I mean,
and are sullen and aborted something or other.
The Doors were awesome. I mean, who else would name a song Horse Latitudes? I mean, you know.
Yeah.
We are immaculate. We are stoned. I love the Doors.
Yeah, Jim Morrison introduced me to peyote.
Nice, man.
I'm not even
You're confessing to it.
Billy Idol. Billy Idol's another one.
Yeah.
Well, Billy, yeah. Have you ever seen the DVD of Ian Astbury singing with the Doors? Remember, he was touring with them for a while.
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube. It was awesome.
It's pretty cool because they did. I can't remember. I think they do the whole LA Woman album, if I remember right, on there, and then like some other.
Law Woman.
Law Woman.
It's French.
Okay, are we caught up on our comments?
Yeah, we are. Number one, role play.
You didn't read all the comments where, people were talking about Dio, as I mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I saw something about Ray Davies also. Somebody shouted out Ray Davies as a pick.
I did.
Did you? Okay.
Well, you guys were talking about, Chris was talking about eating fish and chips and feeling like he was a British soldier or something. And I think when I think of a British singer, I think of Ray Davies. Or Ray Davis, actually, is how you're supposed to say it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Only in the United States do we say Davies, but evidently it's Ray Davis. So there you go, kids. You learned something. Okay.
Dedicated follower of fashion.
Thank you, Gary.
Well, you could say Steve Marriott too, right? For quintessential British singers of The Faces and Humble Pie.
Yeah. David Bowie, he was kind of.
Bowie, Rod Stewart.
Wake up, Maggie. All right, we're on to our number one picks. My number one pick, right? Yeah. I'm not skipping anybody, am I? Okay, I'm sorry. I got lost for a second. I feel like this particular singer, I have loved his voice since I first heard it back in whatever it was. I don't know, 78, 77. And I kind of feel like he can do whatever he wants. And he's been doing it for, I don't know, almost 50 years. Robin Zander of Cheap Trick. I think Robin Zander has one of the best voices in rock. Why he doesn't get mentioned more than he does, I will never understand. He's got that kind of, he can do a new wave kind of voice. He does a very hard rocking voice. He can do ballads. And he changes the way he's singing in the middle of a song. If you're familiar with the song Avida Zane, he's got that where he goes, "There are many here among us who feel their lives are a joke," but then he's also got the "Au revoir," and he's just screaming, Avida Zane. He just, and he hits this shit and he just comes right back. And he's still doing this stuff now. If you go see Cheap Trick now in 2022, Robin Zander is still going to sound great. Now, a lot of these singers we're talking about, you go see them now live and, maybe not so much, but Robin Zander, when you leave that show, you're still going to say, wow, man, that guy can still sing. And he's just been doing it, album after album. And it's like, we're talking about all these other famous singers. And, I know somebody on here mentioned Robin Zander, but for the most part, like critics and stuff, you don't hear them talking about how great Robin Zander is. And I just think he is awesome.
Yeah, everybody loves your pick, buddy. They're all commenting how awesome. And Adiga Zane is my favorite Cheap Trick song.
Oh yeah, that's a great. Well, Heaven Tonight, that's my favorite album. And there's another example. Think how he sings that particular song, Heaven Tonight. So
yeah,
I always like the song. I always like the song The Flame.
Yeah, The Flame. There's a ballad, and listen how he sounds on that. A song like that, where he's sounding very expressive, and his voice sounds like it's very plaintive and very, just he's all messed up kind of inside. He's desperate. You can hear the desperation in his voice as he's singing it. So.
And the vulnerability.
Yes.
Yep. Man, what an underrated band.
Mike's got the spin, says they do the entire Sgt. Pepper album live. Yes, they do, and it's amazing. They do great Beatle covers.
Oh yeah, they're huge Beatles fans. They love the Beatles. Oh, Rich Strickler, I see he mentioned Linda Ronstadt. I know Jeff hates her, but I like her.
I don't hate Linda Ronstadt.
I thought that's what you said. I thought you said
again.
You hate Linda Ronstadt and anybody that likes her.
I do not. Let me go on record and saying I do not like Linda Ronstadt. I grew up listening to Linda Ronstadt. My dad was a big Linda Ronstadt fan, but I just never want to listen to her again. No, not that I don't ever. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I do like. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I like Linda Ronstadt. And I love one of my favorite covers of all time is "You're No Good" that she does.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, she's a phenomenal singer. I'm just really kidding. I love Linda Ronstadt. Don't get me wrong. Gazan Ather Moon says, I was listening to In Color today. Southern Girls is one of my favorite songs of all time.
That's a good one.
Rich Strickler, two more favorites for me are Bob Seger and Justin Hayward.
Yes.
Yeah. God, Moody Blues.
Yeah.
Justin Hayward. Well, the Moody Blues had quite a few singers in that band, but Justin Hayward still is head and shoulders above any of the other Moody Blues singers. And one of those, again, very English kind of vocalist. Yeah, Zapuro, great pick, Gary, and Robin still sounds great. His voice is held up for sure, which you can't say a lot. You can't say the same for his contemporaries. I was watching a lot of videos this week about John Bon Jovi and how his voice has just gone to hell, how he's out touring right now and cannot. Some people are saying like he needs to pack it in. Like he just cannot sing, though. He can't hit the notes. He can't even sing, sort of mid-range Bon Jovi songs. And people are posting videos like, oh my God, like what the hell happened to John Bon Jovi and his voice? But
there's different levels of that. I'm very forgiving when it comes to singers when they get older and when they can't do certain things. I don't expect them to be able to do it. Just like if you would go see The Who now, I don't expect Roger Daltrey to sound, like he did in 1971. That's just ridiculous to, but, some guys somehow manage to keep their voice in pretty good shape. Jeff, you and I, when we saw the Dead Daisies, we were amazed by that.
Glenn Hughes is incredible.
Yeah, Glenn Hughes somehow can still do that. Robin Zander can. But there's some singers, it's beyond not just being able to do what they used to be able to do. Some of them, it's like like you said, they just can't sing at all. And some of the clips, some of the clips I saw, like what you were talking, Paul Stanley, John Bon Jovi, he seems to have hit some kind of wall. David Lee Roth. The way David Lee Roth sounds to me now, and I don't know, you can relate to this, Jeff. You're like me. I almost feel like David Lee Roth has some sort of hearing issue because his timing is off so much. It's like he just kind of throws words in there and phrases. I mean, his whole thing used to be his timing and he was never a great technical singer or anything, but his timing, the way he expressed things was awesome. And it's like he is just lost out there now. I know there's been this rumor going around that they're going to do some kind of Van Halen tribute reunion or whatever it is. And as much as, trust me, I love the David Lee Roth era a million times better than the Sammy Hagar era of Van Halen. Not putting down Sammy Hagar, it's just the difference of it. But there's no way I want them to drag David Lee Roth out on this tour now when he gets on stage and he just appears to be lost. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem people have is not so much like, I understand, like John Bon Jovi is never going to be able to sing like he did in the 1990s. And David Lee Roth is never going to be able to sing like he did, in the 70s and 80s with Van Halen. And, same for, even Paul McCartney, who, Paul McCartney's songs do not require like an enormous range, an enormous vocal range. But even he, his voice is showing the effects of age. But these bands are still charging $200 for tickets, and yet the quality of the product that you're getting is not $200 worth of, Bon Jovi, is still charging $200 per ticket, and yet Bon Jovi's voice is, really, substandard. Same for, Kiss. Kiss ticket is not cheap, but with Paul Stanley, he's definitely at the end of his road in terms of his vocal prowess. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to, comment on that because it had been on my mind lately. But Chris, your next pick.
You guys done?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me see whose channel it is. And then you tell me, am I done? I'll be done when I am goddamn ready to be done, Chris Propey. And don't you forget it.
I was hoping we could talk about that Van Halen reunion a little bit more. I'm all serious. But go ahead, Chris.
What is this, a Kiss video? Is this a Van Halen video? What the fuck? I thought we were talking about...
I'm sorry. Do Kiss and Van Halen have singers? Yes, they do.
Yeah, we were talking about Vocalists, so don't act like we're on some tangent like we are prone to do.
Yeah,
I'll talk about Michael McDonald for 30 minutes if I want to. Anyway,
I'm just busting your chops. All right, so I'm really pissed off because I should have shown Frank Sinatra. I don't know why I didn't pick Frank Sinatra, but I'm going to end with a female singer that has one of the most beautiful voices ever. I was in the record store the other day and they had one of her records on. I was like, holy shit, this woman just takes me on a journey. She has a beautiful voice, and that's Joanie Mitchell. Amazing, beautiful voice. What's great about Joanie Mitchell is her voice has changed through the years. And she sort of adapted her music to fit her vocal stylings, because when she first started out, she was a folk singer. And this is one of her most famous albums, Clouds. But then she sort of developed this jazz quality to her vocals, and the music went on to fit that. And lately, her voice, we've been talking about aging voices. Joanie Mitchell's voice has aged, but almost like a fine wine. She has a smoky quality to her voice now, and that's what she's doing. She's doing these jazz standards now, and her voice fits. It's almost like like if you took Marianne Faithfull and sort of mixed it with Joanie Mitchell's beautiful vocals, you get that sort of smoky old, quality, but it's a good thing.
Didn't she collaborate with Charles Mingus in the 70s?
She did. Yeah. She has an album called Mingus. But Joanie Mitchell, I mean, this album, Chelsea Morning, is just crazy good. The song about the Midway, oh my God. I mean, this, just a beautiful voice. And she had it's really hard to describe. It's just like a natural quality. What was going on?
You froze.
You just froze for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just a natural, beautiful quality to her voice.
Voice like an angel, face like a horse. I didn't say that. I'm sorry.
Hey, Joanie Mitchell's very pretty.
In that photograph.
I agree.
She also paints. She's a painter. She's a painter.
Jeffka Raw.
Wow. All right. Well, the Joanie Mitchell fan club is going to be sending some hate towards Jeff Witcher.
I just lost all my Joanie Mitchell subscribers. But
they have jumped ship.
I remember when I was a kid, my cousin and I, we were out at the roller skating rink, and they were having one of those contests, a limbo type contest, and he ended up winning the thing, and so he got to win a record, and he won a Joanie Mitchell record. He was so pissed. He was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Well, here's the funny thing. Like, if I was to listen, if I had a Joanie Mitchell record as a kid, I probably would have said the same thing. But as I've gotten older, for whatever reason, I love.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm the same way. Granted, we were like 14.
Yeah, but as a 14-year-old, it's like, oh, thanks for the fucking Joanie Mitchell record. I was hoping for Hellbent for Leather or something.
Well,
right.
You'll never want to see Joanie Mitchell on the hood of your car. I'll put it that way.
No. I wonder what happens like when you play a David Coverdale song and a Joanie Mitchell song at the same time.
I think they cancel each other out. Probably.
Exactly. All right, guys. My number one is probably not going to come as a shock to anyone. Glenn Danzig. I love the Misfits. I love Danzig. I love Sam Hain. His voice is a mixture of Elvis. It's a mixture of Jim Morrison, as Jeff said. It's just so unique and so amazing. Yeah, I had to pick him, just because, most of my life I've been obsessed with the band The Misfits and Glenn's voice. It hasn't held up like Cheap Trick has held up, I'll be honest with you. Like Robin's voice. But he can still sing. But yeah, Glenn Danzig, my number one.
And I tell you what, him being satanic is like, that even makes him a better singer to me.
Yeah, what if we played him, Joanie Mitchell, and David Coverdale all at the same time? What would happen then? An explosion.
I think Lana Del Rey would knock on your door. Like, it would, like, those three albums played at the same time, suddenly you'd hear, and Lana Del Rey would be at your fucking door.
Just come in and she'd be
with a tray of orange juice.
She'd be like, wait a second, Josh, did I just hear Glenn Danzig, David Coverdale, and Joanie Mitchell playing at the same time? I am here to grant your three wishes.
Exactly. I'm going to fix you some sandwiches.
Yes. And bring you some orange juice.
Orange juice. Yeah, what the hell was that? Like,
I don't know.
Lana Del Rey can bring you anything, and I choose orange juice. Wow.
Well, maybe it had some vodka in it. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Whatever. Chris, I love you, brother. You can have your fantasy.
I've definitely lost subscribers.
Nobody picked Paul Stanley. What the?
I actually prefer.
Paul Stanley can't fucking sing.
No, I love
anymore, but he could when he was in Kiss.
No, Paul Stanley could never sing. He could never sing.
No way, he could sing. I still love you.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I love Paul.
Love you.
All right. Well, it's me down to my last one. Okay. Now this is I I mean, I have stuck up for this guy for a long time. When we've done videos before, I've sung his praises, not literally sung because nobody wants to hear me sing anymore, but he only had one studio album during his lifetime, and yet he is still going to be my number one. I am sorry. And if you know this album, if you've heard it, I think you will agree with me. I am going to go with the immortal Jeff Buckley. This is his only studio album. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1997, but the range of his vocals, the range of styles on this album, he's got other albums. He's got a live, actually, very interestingly, his first album, Live at Jeannette, his first album was an EP, Live at Jeannette. But this really, it's such a classic case of, what could have been if he had lived. But his father was Tim Buckley, who was a folk singer-songwriter in the late 60s, early 70s, got into some avant-garde kind of music. But he definitely inherited his father's voice. And I mean, he sounds like Robert Plant. He sounds like a choir boy. He sounds raw and sexy and, vulnerable. I mean, there's so many different styles on this record, but Jeff Buckley was such a talent. And I mean, it sounds like, oh, he only had one album. This is your favorite singer, but yeah, he is. If you're not familiar with this album, I mean, it will change your life. It really will. Robert Plant was a huge fan. Chris Cornell was a huge Jeff Buckley fan. So many respected, revered singers consider Jeff Buckley to be such a huge talent. And Grace is just a masterpiece. There's another album you can find. It's called Songs for My Sweetheart the Drunk, which were, basically scraps of songs and takes of what was supposed to be his next album. Unfortunately, he died tragically before he could ever release a second album. But, Chris, I know you've got the album. I think, Josh, you're familiar with the record, but
yeah, I got it.
It's just an amazing, amazing album. He's an amazing artist.
Well, his version of Hallelujah is phenomenal.
Sure, yeah, it's like the definitive version of that song now.
Yeah, and so many people have covered his version of it. You know what I mean? Like, he just made it his own. And yeah, he had a voice of an angel. I almost picked Elliott Smith. I thought you were going to pick Elliott Smith, but both of those artists are fantastic in that era.
Yeah, I like Elliott Smith as a songwriter. I love his songs, but as far as Jeff Buckley was a singer-songwriter, but he was also, his vocal quality was just amazing. And not many people know who he was because he wasn't around that long. I mean, Grace came out in 1994. He died in 1997. And I mean, he's kind of been, unless or somebody's turned you on to his record, a lot of people don't know who he is. If they haven't heard Hallelujah, they're not really familiar. But I mean, there's heavy metal on that record. There's, opera on that record. There's, kind of like REM type of alternative music on there. It's just so different. Every song is different than the last. And it's just a great, great album.
Nice. I'm going to mention two other singers. Gary, you and I should have picked Gordon Lightfoot.
He's a great singer.
And I'm really pushing this band City and Color. I'm hoping to turn more people on to them. I know I played it for Josh and Jeff when we were together, but this guy's name is Dallas Green. That's where they get the name City and Color, Dallas being the city, color being green. Talk about amazing vocals. That Dallas Green, this guy can sing. So I'd urge anybody out there to check out the band City and Color.
Mm-hmm. I do have a quick question because we have 20-something people in the room. So we talked about the Van Halen, and this is about vocals. We talked about the Van Halen tribute show or tribute concert. Let's pretend that Dave goes out and sings a few songs. Let's pretend Sammy goes out and sings a few songs. Later on down the road, we could talk about guitar players. But let's pretend the rest of the songs, they interchange singers. Name a singer that you would love to hear in a Van Halen tribute show, even if it was just for one song. Who would it be?
Robin Zander.
That is a great choice. Chris?
I'm gonna have to think about this one.
And anyone in the comments down below, put who you would like to sing. Let me see what Jeff says.
Just any singer singing a
Yeah,
Van
any
Halen
singer
tune?
that you would love to hear a Van Halen tune, you know?
Steve Perry.
That's a great one. That
I
would
mean, I
be
know it's not
really
a left
interesting.
field, but I mean, I don't know. I would love to hear him, you know, take a Van Halen track and make it his own.
Ann Wilson would be a good one too.
Ann Wilson would be fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, well,
I'm
you
drawing
know,
a
as I
blank.
say Steve Perry, I'm like, God, why didn't you pick Steve Perry? Steve Perry is the voice. Steve Perry's got an amazing voice. I know somebody else commented like Brad Delp. Brad Delp had an amazing voice. I mean, there's so many. It's like, God, when you narrow a list like this down to 5, there's so
What about
many
when,
artists you regret leaving out.
When David Coverdale in his prime singing a Van Halen tune.
That would have been good.
That would have been cool. You know, and
Yeah.
the thing is that, like, I would hope that if they were to do it, it would be great to pick people that you wouldn't expect. Like, you feel like they'd probably wheel out, like, a lot of the 80s hard rock and bands like Sebastian Bach and things like that. But I love how you guys named off-the-cuff people. It would be really cool to see them, you know, because Van Halen influenced so many bands. I mean, I know they influenced mostly guitarists, you know, but you know, David Lee Roth was such a unique vocalist. It would be great to hear someone unique do one of his songs.
What about
They're not easy to sing.
Henry Rollins just spitting out one of Van Halen's songs?
Oh yeah, he was a Van
that'd be
Halen
pretty cool.
fan. He loved Van Halen.
Yeah.
He talks about seeing Van Halen open up for Ted Nugent, and it's a hilarious story. So anybody that wants to Google it, Henry Rollins goes and sees Ted Nugent. He was in the 70s a big Nuge fan, and Van Halen goes out, and he said David Lee Roth acted like they were the headliners. Nobody knew who the hell they were, and through the whole show, David Lee Roth is like just tearing it up. And then at the end, Eddie Van Halen goes out and does Eruption to like end the show, and they're all blown away, just like, oh my, like they just saw the change in rock. And he runs into David Lee Roth years later. He's like, David Lee Roth, he's like, I saw you guys open up in, you know, DC, open up for Ted Nugent. And David Lee Roth goes, yeah, I remember that show. The attendance was 18,972. We made $2,200 on t-shirt sales that night, and we made $4,000 take home from the gross net of the audience. And everyone's like, holy shit, how do you remember that? He goes, what I do is the shit I don't remember, I make up and I say it with confidence so you'll believe me.
That's classic. We got somebody said Tiny Tim. I can't believe we left Tiny Tim off. Glenn Hughes. I don't know if that's in reference to, Glenn Hughes for a Van Halen song. Could you imagine Glenn
that
Hughes?
would be incredible.
I would love that. Yeah,
love that.
That would be awesome.
Another singer that I wanted to mention, not for this Van Halen thing, but is Annie Lennox. I think she's a terrific singer, just an amazing voice.
Many people have said Janis Joplin too. I don't know. I think we might have mentioned her before, but yeah, Janis was great. Another great female vocalist.
Yeah.
Sam,
I love
Captain
Annie.
Beefheart.
Captain Beefheart.
Meatloaf.
Oh yeah, Meatloaf.
Yep.
Chris
Gary, did you
Stapleton
ever
would do a
hear-
great job on Van Halen tune.
Gary,
Frank
did you hear
Zappa?
David Bowie and Annie Lennox cover on the Freddie Mercury concert? Under
Yeah.
Pressure.
When they did Under Pressure.
That gave me chills.
Wow.
Like, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, Freddie Mercury. I mean, let's not forget about
Freddie
him.
Mercury,
Right.
the GOAT. Yeah, I mean, that guy was amazing. Absolutely.
Well, in terms of Van Halen, I mean, it'd be nice to have, Dave and Sammy, together again, just so, people could use the restroom while Sammy was singing and then get back in time for Dave's songs. But anyway.
I saw that tour when they did the Sam and Dave tour.
Sam and Dave, yeah.
I saw that one. That was a good one.
How about Marvin Gaye?
Yeah.
And Marvin Gaye, amazing.
I was going to suggest Horseface.
Joanie Mitchell?
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Joanie Mitchell singing a Van Halen song?
Yeah. Which Van Halen song would Joanie Mitchell sing?
Anima.
Big Bad Bill.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Big Bad Bill is sweet, William now.
Ice Cream Man.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Barry
When they
White.
did the George
Barry
Harrison,
White covering
that was
Van Halen?
amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I know. There's so many great vocal. I mean, you can say
Rich Strickler said Pitbull.
Yeah.
Ice Cube.
Ice
Hey.
Cube.
Ice Cube is an awesome.
Dude, I love Ice Cube. And I would put the album Predator up against a lot of stuff that came out around that time. That's a great album.
Do you own that?
I own it on CD.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, the vinyl is like over $100.
I own a lot. I own Death Certificate, Kill It Will, Lethal Injection. I even have some of his latest stuff too. He's good. I love Ice Cube.
Yeah.
What about Karen Carpenter doing Pound Cake?
Because I love my baby's pound cake.
That was
Why
from
don't you get a bunch of people that just do impressions and have them, try and tackle like just the juxtaposition of, like a Karen Carpenter and a Van Halen, or
Anne Murray. Anne Murray.
And Ronnie James Dio or something. Yeah.
You know who'd be cool is Metallica doing a Van Halen song.
See, what would have the only thing that would upset me is if they did. You remember, like in the 90s or the 2000s, MTV did these concert icons, and they'd be like, "We're giving Metallica the icon," and then Avril Lavigne or someone would come out, or Nickelback would come out. Like, I'm not trying to bash those bands if people in the comments love those bands. What I'm trying to say is, if they do a Van Halen tribute concert, I really do hope they get some, iconic people, just not who's the flavor of the day. Don't
try to be hip with it.
Don't try to be hip. Just get Ann Wilson, get somebody cool.
And you can't get somebody like Eddie Vedder on there who basically has no sense of fucking humor.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can't have somebody like that do Van Halen songs.
Right.
It's got to be somebody that is fun. Also,
Huey
Maybe
Lewis.
one day we can get Jeff.
Huey Lewis. Yeah.
Huey Lewis is a lot of fun.
He is fun.
He's having a blast. I'm sorry.
I think
James
you'd see
Hetfield.
them in concert, you would definitely have fun.
Exactly.
Pan him the hog. Yeah.
That's the great thing about Tom Waits is like Tom Waits, nobody's ever going to be like, his voice is shot. He can't sing the notes anymore. I mean, he's got that going for him, right?
I think he sounds better.
Yeah. Same with Bob Dylan. Like, nobody's ever gone to a Bob Dylan concert and been like, he can't hit the notes like he used to. His voice is shot. I mean, people are saying that in, the 1980s, but or Louis Armstrong,
Someone said Weird Al. That guy has
Weird Al.
How was
Weird
the
Al
contact this?
Hey, does Weird Al, did he ever do a Van Halen song?
I don't think so, no.
I don't think he did.
Chris, did you end up going to the Weird Al concert?
No, my I was hoping to go, but my daughter, this is going to sound bad. My daughter ended up feeling better so she could go.
Yeah.
I was almost like hoping like, Rebecca, are you still sick? Because if you are, that means I can go to the concert. But she's like, no, Dad, I'm feeling better. So yeah, but I guess Weird Al put on an awesome show.
Awesome. They're making a movie.
He plays the accordion, and I guess I know he's very talented. I mean, you have to be talented to do what he does, but I guess he backs it up with his live performance as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do an entire album of James Hetfield covering.
Exactly. We'll call it "I Am the Table" by Chris Profi. I'm going
Panama. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so we're going to talk about James Hetfield for a second. I know we did our load reload video, but I've been listening to my load reload mix that I made, and let me just tell you, mine is the best out of all of ours. And James Hetfield on load, that's when he started doing that. Ooh, yeah, that kind of stuff. He was getting cute.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you are leading me to your list, and I'm glad that you said your list was better than all of ours.
Here's what I'm going to say too: is that my list sucked before you guys. Like, okay, so here I put "Carpe Diem, Baby" as my last song. And then I'm like, why the fuck didn't I put Bleeding Me? So you guys, I think all of you picked Bleeding Me.
Yeah.
So I went in as an asshole and I took off Carpe Diem Baby and I put in Bleeding Me. I'm like, oh, that makes all the difference. There you go. So
just created a great album.
Yeah.
Robert says Jack White. I love Jack White.
Yeah, me too. Great voice.
How about Loretta Lynn?
Oh, I love Loretta Lynn too. She's awesome.
Don't Johnny come home with drinking with loving on your mind.
Well, and the reason I mentioned Loretta Lynn is because Jack White has produced her last couple of records.
He has.
Darius Rucker doing Van Halen.
Oh, that's rough.
Chris, have you heard that song "Portland, Oregon" by Loretta Lynn?
Yeah, off of Van Leer Rose. That album is killer.
I've got that album.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Hey, what about this one? Chris? Do Metallica covering Wake Me Up Before You Go Go.
Wake me up, yeah, before you go. Ooh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, nobody.
I couldn't even. How does "Wake Me Up Before I Wake Me Up Before You Go Go"?
Something.
I was never like. I know Jeff was more into Wham than I was.
George Michael's got a fantastic voice. I mean, I'm not big into Wham, but he's got his cover of Queen and his cover of Elton John. "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me." Man, that guy can sing.
Yeah, he can.
Oh, he could. And he's in a song, "Praying for Time." I think it's one of the most beautiful songs ever written. It's just, he's got such an awesome voice.
Well, this is not a joke either, but Boy George can also sing. That guy's got an amazing voice. You know?
Yeah.
Culture Club?
Absolutely.
Come on, Gary. Come on. Give me some love, Gary.
I'm not jumping on that one. Sorry. Brandon says hi.
Hi, Brandon.
Brandon.
Marcus Thompson said he's surprised that Jeff didn't pick Ringo Starr for one of his favorite singers.
Ringo Starr. Somebody's trying to goof on me. I wouldn't pick Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr. Come on. Yeah.
Ringo, you can sing.
He does have the
Don't pass
faces.
me by. Here's Ringo, just sing Octopus's Garden. All right, come on.
Well, you can almost have a debate about, like, okay, when you've got bands like Iron Maiden where you got Paul Di'Anno and then replaced by, Bruce Dickinson, or you got David Lee Roth replaced by Sammy Hagar. The bands, like things that happen like that, there's always going to be those debates about, well, who was better and were they a different band when they changed up lead singers? You know,
Oh,
like
yeah,
even when
and
you got
back
Vince
to-
Neil,
Yeah.
you know, replaced, you know, like he was by what's his nuts?
John Corabi.
Yeah, John Corabi.
John Corabi had a much better voice.
Yeah, is it still Motley Crue, or is it, you know, should it have been called something different? But
Yeah.
So George just said that Urge Overkill covered Wham's Freedom, which I'll definitely want to listen to that. And Mike is totally on board with me for Praying for Time. Praying for Time is, I think, one of George Michael's best vocal performances. Daddy Bog said George Michael's Last Christmas, he died on Christmas Day, which is crazy to even think about. And Daddy Bog also said Chrissy Hine.
Yeah.
And Mike got the spin, said he saw Limp Bizkit cover George Michael's Faith. Mike, you should watch. Jeff Witcher had the privilege of interviewing Fred Durst. You should go watch that.
I did, and he did a great. He tried to do a great cover of "If You Leave Me Now" by Chicago.
Well, are any
But
of
it's funny, you know. I don't know. Screw Limp Bizkit, whatever. I don't think any Limp Bizkit fans that were in jeopardy of defending, but
are any of our viewers going to agree with me about Boy George? I mean, listen to his vocal performance on Church of the Poison Mind. I mean, you know, no, Gary.
I mean, strip away the makeup.
I don't even know the song.
And all that.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Brandon just said "Make Love."
Miss
I've
Me
never
Blind?
bought a Culture Club album.
Oh, Gary, we know you have color by numbers somewhere in there.
Share.
Murder by Numbers. 1, 2, 3.
Barry Gibb.
Oh,
Jackson
love
Brown. Yeah.
Jackson Brown.
Brandon said, "I Can't Make You Love Me" is his favorite George Michael song or cover, and that's a good one.
Yeah.
Who was the original? Bonnie Raitt?
Bonnie, yeah. Was she the original one? I mean, I know she sang it.
Yeah.
And me. That's a good song.
No, Gazin likes Boy George.
All right.
There you go.
There you go, Chris.
Brandon does too. Thank you,
God.
Brandon. Thank you.
Look at him. Look at him puffing his chest up now.
Yes. Chris needs some.
And I'm being all serious. This is not meant to be like, oh, haha, you said Boy George, I'm going to say, but what about like Roland Orzabal or Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and a lot of viewers probably saw my video, but I introduced my son to Tears for Fears. He had never heard it. And we were at Savers, and I already owned Songs for the Big Chair. And I said, Carter, I'll give this to you. You got to promise me that you'll listen to it, you know, and it was so wild because he called me up and we were talking about how what's the name of the song before Head Over Heels? I'm trying to think of Broken, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it goes right in. And we're talking about how, you know, the starkness of the piano, you know, and then it comes in with this beautiful voice and, you know, even resonated with a 14-year-old kid, you know, that mostly listens to hip hop. So yeah, Tears for Fears, they're just timeless in my opinion. And that album is a masterpiece.
Yeah, well, Rick Beato did an episode on, you know, like, I forget the title of the series that he did, but What Makes This Song Great, I think it's called. And he did one on Head Over Heels and just what a great song that is. And I love because he strips it down track by track and methodically, like, okay, this is the piano intro and it's in this key. And then you've got the guitar. And I mean, it's just a great way to, you know, it reminds you why you like the song to begin with. And it's like, I always knew I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs of the 80s. But when you hear somebody who's actually a musician and who knows all the nuances about, well, this is the way the melody is played, and this is how the instruments all kind of weave together. Songs from the Big Chair is a masterpiece. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, just because it's a free for all right now, but the Tipping Point still blows me away to listen to that today because it's so unexpected. You know, and I really kind of struggle. Like, God, I thought like Songs from the Big Chair was you know, there's no way that they could ever come out with an album that would match that in terms of songwriting and musicianship and excellence. But I just can't stop listening to The Tipping Point. I think it's almost on par with songs from The Big Chair. But I almost said, I debated, like, even Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, because I'm a big synth pop guy. I love Dave Gahan's vocals too.
Yeah.
So you're saying I should get the new album then?
I'm saying everybody who's watching this video should get that album. You won't regret it.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, I do think Boy George can sing.
Oh, no. See what happened here? Okay. Let me explain. Gary's giving me shit for the last fucking half an hour. But you know what happened? Listen, no. And then all it takes is Brandon saying that boy, and then suddenly Gary's on the Boy George
Trust me,
now.
I'm not going out and buying one fucking album.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
we just wanted to invite Brandon.
We're
gonna be nice to Brandon until he invites us over, so we can hang and listen to music.
Yes.
Yeah. And when Brandon goes to the bathroom, we'll all steal some of his records.
Well, I just got rid of like 80 albums in my collection. But you know what, too, I did not get rid of? The 2 Culture Club albums that I own. They were certainly under consideration, but I don't know. I mean, there's something about it. And we're talking about guilty pleasures. Yeah. Am I ashamed that I have those in my collection? Maybe. When I have company come over, do I hide them? Maybe.
Do you now, Jeff, I want you to be honest. Do you still have your Thompson Twins records?
I still do. I didn't get rid of a single Thompson Twins album. Nostalgia is a powerful thing.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I got more Duran Duran than anybody should probably ever own, but I can't help it. I mean, we like what we like. And
do you have all 6 Orion albums?
I don't have any Orion albums. No, I don't. I'm trying to get rid of my Elvis stuff. I don't need, somebody who sounds like Elvis cluttering up my collection.
Do you
I don't care if it's on colored vinyl. I don't care if it's on the Sun label.
Do you have Duran Duran's The Wedding album on vinyl?
No, I do not.
Yeah, that's a grail for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I can see how it would be. The last, I've got their most recent one, Future Present, but then the last one before that I've got his Big Thing on vinyl. But yeah, Simon Le Bon. I mean, I don't know, you could argue Simon Le Bon, maybe.
Harry's Music Room was asking you couldn't do it now. You didn't do like a video, did you, that we haven't seen yet of your purge of your records? That you
know what happened is I had a video where I showed all the records that I was purging, and I said, if anybody wants these records. Well, the problem was I was getting like inundated with I'll take that one and that one and that one. It just got like overwhelming, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to take it down because I've already gotten like all these albums spoken for. And I didn't want people to be like, these must all be up for grabs, and then having to tell 20 people, sorry, they're taken already. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot. Like, if you've seen Tony, like the ones that I gave records to, I haven't mailed out Rich Strickler's. I've got to mail out his. But like Tony from Two from the Trunk, you got Craig from A to Z, Sam, I sent some records to. There was another viewer also as well, but I mean, it wasn't 80 records. It was probably closer to like, 40 or 50. But yeah, I did my purge, and, I'm not purging anymore. I mean, a year from now, maybe I might be in a similar kind of a situation. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, like the Linda Ronstadt. Yeah, I got rid of, I kept 2 Linda Ronstadt records, and I gave one to Tony. I got rid of a lot of Elvis, but I kept a couple of ones just because it's not like I don't like them, but I just don't need that many. Maybe next year I'll be like, I don't need all these Thompson Twins records, but
I'll be interested to see, Jeff, how it affects your buying habits. Because when I sold my collection, obviously I sold almost all of them. it affected my buying habits by a great deal. I wonder if it'll affect yours, like.
Yeah, well, I think it definitely does, because I used to walk into a record store and like, oh, I'll go through the dollar bins, or, oh, that record's cheap. I kind of like that artist. I'm a lot more discriminating when I go into a record store now, because I don't have the space. I can't be like, well, yeah, I like this song by that person and this album's available. That song's not on this album, but I'll take a chance. I'm not doing any blind buys, I guess is maybe what I'm saying. I'm not walking into a record store and, doing any blind buys or going through the dollar bins. I mean, I just don't have the space. I'm being very selective about what I buy now. And it's almost like the mentality, like, okay, if I'm going to buy 5 records, then I need to pick 5 records that I'm going to move into. I've got kind of the way that I have my record collection is I've got like the main collection in this room, and then I've got like an overflow, crate of records where it's kind of like, I'm not sure I want to get rid of them yet, but they're sort of in that purgatory of maybe I want to get rid of them. They're not my favorite records. I've got some like K-Tel compilations. I've got a couple soundtracks in there. Like for example, I've got Huey Lewis and the News. I got a 12-inch from them. It's like, well, it's never going to sell. I'm going to get like 25 cents for that record or something like that. But there's just certain ones where I'm not sure I want to part with it yet. So I've just kind of got that overflow that probably eventually I'll get rid of. But I just, I mean, I've got cassettes, I've got CDs, I got 8 tracks, I got vinyl, I got books. And I just I don't have a, infinite amount of space. So I got rid of a bunch of CDs lately, CDs that, I like that band at one time. I haven't listened to them in 5 years. Am I ever going to want to listen to them again? No. So I just got rid of them. But, I know, Chris, you just did a video today where you traded in some records and that. I mean, I think, it's just, if I had, a larger space, maybe I wouldn't be getting rid of as many records as I did. But and it's like, okay, I got, over 1,000 records. When am I ever going to possibly have time to listen to all these? But, the collector in me is like, yeah, I want every single Doors album. I want every single Pink Floyd album. Do I need every single Thompson Twins album? Probably not. Do I need every single Bob Dylan album? No, I've got a lot of, I've got all the studio albums on CD. I don't need the vinyl. That's why I had a shitload of Chicago albums and I got rid of those, because it's like I got them on CD. I just don't need, there's a lot of records I don't need because I've got them on CD, or I don't need certain CDs because I've got them on vinyl.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. And Jeff and I had a conversation about this on our trip, but I got rid of a couple Van Morrison records because I'm like, I like Van Morrison, but do I need 4 Van Morrison albums? No. So I got rid of a couple of those. Then I got rid of some Jefferson Starship. It's not that I don't like Jefferson Starship, but I never listened to Jefferson Starship. And I'm like, what's that album, Red Octopus? If I'm going to listen to an album, I'll probably listen to that record. But I also prefer to listen to Jefferson Airplane instead. I'm a huge John Denver fan. I got rid of a few John Denver records that were kind of beat up a little bit because I'm like, I got these on CD. I don't really need a vinyl copy of them. I got rid of a couple Neil Diamond records. I love Neil Diamond, but a couple of them are a little beat up, and I got them on CD too. I'm like, I don't need them taking up space because today I bought Black Sabbath Master of Reality, and the way I look at it is I would rather have Master of Reality on vinyl than have Neil Diamond, the jazz singer, and again, this is nothing against Neil Diamond, the jazz singer, because I love that album, but I would rather just have that on my CD, in my CD collection, and have Sabbath Master of Reality on vinyl. So I think it's just about making choices. And like Jeff and I were saying too, when you buy a record, you're spending more money. Also, you're sleeving it as well. You're putting it in a MoFi sleeve. You're putting it in an outer sleeve. And it's like, do I really need my Anne Murray record in a freaking MoFi sleeve? No, I'd rather put Sabbath, Master of Reality. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there who would say, no, I'd rather put Anne Murray than Black Sabbath. But my point is that I'm trying to find stuff that is worthy of going on the vinyl shelf.
Well, I thought about that when I sold my collection. If obviously I wasn't making videos right away, but I bought the Sabbath albums. I bought the Dio albums. I bought I was buying the albums that I knew in my heart that I missed the most, that I shouldn't have sold. And what I've been trying to do since I bought the house, because to give everybody that's watching a small picture, I'm not going to talk about numbers, but what I was paying for rent compared to what I'm paying for mortgage is double. So double the amount of money. So I've lost a shit ton of money that I used to spend on records. So what I'm trying to do now is think about, what I want to listen to. And I mean, really listen to, what am I missing? What are these grails? And that's one of the reasons why I bought, the Rolling Stones the other day, because I was I can't believe I don't own Let It Bleed, right? I need a really nice copy of Let It Bleed. That's something that I want to listen to, that I love. And that's what I'm trying to focus my money on. So my buying is always evolving and always changing. There's major grails that I always want. But things the biggest thing I can tell you is Aaron has got me hooked on Clutch. I'm listening to Clutch like it's going out of style. I don't need another band that has 27 albums in their discography, right? But I love it. So I can see myself going down that rabbit hole. And the issue I have is I don't know which Clutches are good, which are bad, right? Maybe none of them are bad. Aaron loves all of them. So I'm trying to figure that out because I am balling on a budget, and trying to get these albums. But like we said, every week we're in the golden age of reissues. So all these albums that either have never been pressed on vinyl, or they're doing these super special editions, like Born Again is going to have a super special edition where they're going to try to make the mix less muddy. Maybe we'll hate it. Maybe that muddy mix is what we love. But how can I not buy the Born Again reissue? You know what I mean? They might as well take my money right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we got Mike who said, I don't know how young kids can build a collection when you spend $100 on 4 or 5 records. Yeah, I mean, prices are definitely going up. We talk about all these reissues. Well, they're not cheap. I mean, some of them, are relatively inexpensive. But when you're talking about people that have a limited budget, it's like sacrificing quantity over quality. But, when I had more room, I would go through the dollar bins. I'd buy up a bunch of $2 or $3 records of artists that I was just kind of marginally interested in. Because it's well, I've got the space. Probably I'll listen to it. And then I find, well, actually, no, I didn't. I never listened to, a lot of those artists. Harry Cheap, and I had a couple albums by Harry Cheap, and I thought, oh, I kind of like some of this stuff. Never, ever, ever put it on the turntable. I was well, they're gone. I'm not gonna, have them taking up space.
Here's another example too, and I was talking to Jeff about this. There's a band called Harper's Bazaar, and Ted Templeman, the guy who produced the Van Halen records, he was part of Harper's Bazaar. And I had a few Harper's Bazaar albums. I'm do I really need Harper's Bazaar albums? No. So I got rid of them, but I ended up getting a CD set of the complete Harper's Bazaar. But I'd rather have, this is a CD band for me, I guess is my point. I'd rather have these guys on CD than taking up space with vinyl and taking up inner sleeves and outer sleeves. Harper's Bazaar is really, really good. But to me, they're more of a CD band for me.
Chicago is another band that's a CD band. I didn't need all those vinyl records. Chicago, I mean, their first 2 albums are pretty solid. After that, I mean, sort of their quality is up and down. So, I got all their stuff on CD. I don't need it on vinyl. There's a lot of bands like that. Sometimes it's just a greatest hits CD will do me. I don't need the studio albums at all. Yep. I'll just take a greatest hits album and I'm good. But,
well, it'll be interesting a year from now when we're talking about our collections and, you know, how they evolve. I think it'll always evolve. It'll always change. My goal is to one day retire and listen to music, you know what I mean? And have my own record room like I have now and be able to, you know, listen to the 17 different versions of Still of the Night.
yeah.
Passed over the decades.
Well, I've lately just gone down the Tomita rabbit hole. I showed that on my new video. I'm like, I bought a bunch of 50-cent records. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, sometimes you come across records and they're 50 cents or $1, and you listen to them for a few weeks and you have fun, and then you're like, all right, I'm done. And you can get rid of it, but you only spent 50 cents. I mean, to get a cup of coffee at Starbucks is like $5. So,
right.
Yeah, somebody asked if Gazan asked, do any of you guys get the Moving Pictures 40th? It's a must if you're a Rush fan. Gary, do you have that, or do you have any plans to buy it?
But I mean, you know, I'm sure I would enjoy it, but unlike most Rush fans, that's not like in my top 5 Rush albums. I mean, it's a great album, but you know, I feel like pretty much every album that came before Moving Pictures, I like more than I do Moving Pictures. So,
yeah,
I just have the Walmart exclusive. But
Mike says, I noticed used REO Speedwagon records that were $5 a year ago. They are now bringing $15 or more. Yeah, those used to be dollar bin records or $2 or $3 records. And I don't know, is there, I mean, I know REO Speedwagon was on Ozark, which kind of maybe heightened their you know, exposure to more people. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think any record store you walk in, you can find High Infidelity, or you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish, and some other of their stuff.
Jeff, I do a record. Oh, go ahead. You go first. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and Sam said, I just got my first audiophile Verve Impulse Love Supreme, John Coltrane, $40.
You know, when they were talking about the REO Speedwagon, the $5 records, I went to a record convention in 2011, and you know, it's moderate compared to what it was now. But I remember seeing, just to give you an idea, seeing Warrant, Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich, which is now a $100 record for $10. I remember seeing Fleetwood Mac Rumors for $1. I remember seeing you know, all these hair metal bands, Dangerous Toys, which is now a $100 record. I remember seeing that for $20. None of those records were fetching money, and that's just going back 12 years. You know, and now these are $100 records. I wonder if the, you know, if the record boom were to collapse. Hopefully it doesn't ever do that, but if it does, I wonder how many of those records would drop back down into price, you know, to $20 records or $10 records.
That's why I should sell my Smashing Pumpkins Melancholy, because I have the deluxe vinyl version, which is like $400.
It is worth a lot of money, man.
I should just sell that, and I don't know.
What you just said there, Josh, and you know, commenting on like what Mike said, I think that's one of the things that makes me go out there and still search for these used records, is the fact that, you know, even though, because, you know, I'll tell myself I have so many records I haven't listened to yet, you know, or I need to definitely listen to more. Why do I need to go out and get any more records? But then I also have this thought in my mind, well, but I got to find some of these while they're still out there, you know, whether it's records that, you know, okay, maybe that's not my favorite record of all time or anything, but the records that I want in my collection. And if I don't get them now, who knows next year, are they still going to be around? You know, just like you said, it used to be pretty easy to find this, you know, ABC record and whatever. And now it's all of a sudden like, you know, such a hard time. Like that copy I got of Born Again. That is the first time I have seen that anywhere, a used record that was in good shape, So, I mean, I'm like, I had to pick that up. I mean, there's lots of those records where I feel like, if I don't go out there and look, I'm lost. I won't get it. There'll come a point where I've listened to all this stuff and I want to get these, and now I can't.
George says those little CD reissue boxes are a blessing. I agree, because they don't take up much space. You can get a ton of music, I think they're relatively cheap, that Chicago box set. And I know it's Chicago, but I don't think it was more than $20,
Yeah.
ELO Zoom. Sam says ELO Zoom is $300 on Discogs. Is that the CD or is that a vinyl copy?
I'm assuming vinyl.
Huh.
Yeah, I would guess. Harry says people want the music they listened to when they were in their teens. I mean, that's why I like Duran Duran. That's why I like, Depeche Mode and The Cure. And I even have a couple of Huey Lewis and the News albums, just because, I grew up listening to them. And, but yeah.
Well, gentlemen, it's about 10:07.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We had such great participation though tonight. And I want to
Yes,
thank
we did.
people, 20, 30 people at one point that we had in there. So
Yeah, it's fantastic. And we'll do this again next week. And hopefully we'll have Brandon with us. If Aaron's feeling better, maybe he can join us. But maybe we'll even have a special guest. Who knows? You never know. But
yeah, if people have suggestions on what they want to hear us talk about, they should probably put it in the chat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Or if you're, outside the chat, if you want to leave it in the comment section, because I know this video will go up.
Yeah. Let us know.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks for all the comments and for all your suggestions, all your favorites, all your favorite vocalists as well. Yes. Very cool to see that. Chipmunk Funk, what? I remember that record. Oh my God. So funny. Yeah, Hatful of Hollow. That's an awesome album.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Everybody should know this one. And then
is that just a collection of their songs, or is that like a
it's a collection of singles, but it also has some BBC recordings on there as well, alternate BBC recordings. So
yeah, because I've seen that at the record store. I might have to pick that up.
Oh yeah. You can't go wrong with any Smiths album. They don't have a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
Buy them all. And then go.
Sure.
And Lana will bring you orange juice.
And lay on the hood of your car.
And lay in the hood of your car.
Yes, Buck.
All right. Well, this was fun, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you again next week.
All right. Peace.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Peace. All right. Take care.